Good afternoon. It is July 14th, 2022, and here's how I saw things today. Um, Really just a range day. We hit these lows, and I do believe that turned out to be a midline. Um, let's see if it looks a little different with the overnight lows, which would be right here. Oh yeah, you could see that. We formed this range and bounce right there, so that could be it. Um, so maybe it's that, but I drew it off this. I would probably do it like that. So anyway, it's just a range day. We broke beneath the overnight lows, made a couple of legs down, but couldn't really hold. You can see an upward bias beginning right about here, and that pretty much lasted for the rest of the day. So let's take a look at these trades. So if you're watching early, this is before Mac recommends coming in, but you do get this second entry short. Only thing is, trend channel. It's not near the trend channel. Let's see. This could be like that. It's not near the trend channel. It's off the EMA though, but it's pretty high risk. But that's a pretty good looking second entry. It's just let's see how many. 36. Oh yeah, that's a very large signal bar. So that's pretty aggressive, but it looks really good. Only problem is you're going into the lows. So that turns out to be. It turns out this is. I was looking at this as a range, starting at this swing high. Could be that it was right here. Yeah, that looks like a midline. Yeah, that does look like a midline. So this is probably the range that should have been, or you would have been looking at. But we're still in this downtrend here, and we break out of it. I think there was a news item right here. So let me make this a little larger. Right before the news item, we had a break, and this is actually a second entry. So why don't I go ahead and mark this? It's a bit congestive. So I'm going to give that a green arrow, and it's right at the news item. So, but when it breaks higher and then goes lower, that's a second entry short. So then we make a new low after the break of that trend channel, and then we're just going sideways. And I don't see anything in here. You have like within this range, you get a bit of a double test that's also a second entry short. So the signal bar is really good, but I have my range lows drawn right up here. But after the fact, you'd probably have it more like that anyway. So, and that makes this midline looks pretty accurate at that point. So it's an aggressive trade, gets you a scalp. If you're patient, you get another second entry, and that's like more of a truer double test. It's actually a triple test, and it's triple test of this midline. That's a second entry. So now that I'm seeing that, I'm going to make that red. That looks like a better setup. But it's congestive. I mean, there are reasons I marked it green, but yeah. But anyway, you get a first entry, failed second entry long right here, but we're still in that congestion, so I don't think you can take that just yet. But when we come back and you get a first entry, second entry, confirms that trend channel, that's a good entry. Then we're just moving on down. We get a break, and looks like a new low, and then we bounce, and you get a first entry, failed second entry short. Just not crazy about that. It's not off a trend channel. But when you get this second entry long, I think you got to take that. It's off the EMA. This one's off the EMA, but I'm just I try and be more picky with the reversals, especially with this bias being down. But you get a second entry long, that works out. This kind of looks like a hidden second entry, but not a good signal bar. Come up here, you get a first entry, failed second entry, long. I really like that one. And if you don't take that, you get a second entry, short, lower high right here. So, and that confirms the trend channel. So those were really good moves shortly after the open too. You got a few trades shortly after the open, really. Right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. You got an overshoot that leads to a break. And this is very sideways right here. You could see an upward bias, but I think it's too early to be picking these bottoms. We just made another move down. However, you see this leg down in the overnight, and we got a break and two legs down to a new low. So if you see all that, maybe you're being aggressive in here. You know what? This kind of looks like a channel too, though. Probably like that. So there is a trend channel working up here, but look, we're not even coming to these lows. That's not a good signal bar for a second entry short, or second entry long, excuse me. It just looks too sideways with the downward bias for me to take anything. You got a really nice second entry long right there, but it's below the EMA. But you can see it looks like a bunch of traders like this for whatever reason. Let me test that price level again. Bounce. And I don't like any of this. But this, I was looking at this yellow channel. So I was looking at this yellow channel. And you can see off the highs, it looks to be accurate, but it didn't really hold on the lows. We have this break and two legs to a new high, and then this. So it turns out that this was a channel. I think the yellow one had some validity, like I said, because of the highs, but it turns out that this was actually the channel, and you get a first entry, second entry long right off the trend channel. You got a failure right here too, but that's below the EMA. So this is a really good trade, really good entry. Unfortunately, it looks like it probably only gets you a scalp. We come up here. Well, this is a failure as well. But I don't know. This kind of looks a bit sideways. It's not off the EMA. It just, we'll see if Max says anything about it, but I'm just not too crazy about this one. It's such a large signal bar too. What is that? 20 ticks? Oh, it's only 5 points, so nothing crazy, but I just like to be a little more picky. You got a failure right here, but it's in no man's land. Come up here, first entry, second entry, but at this point this is looking sideways, and it's not at the bottom of our trend channel. And I'm not sure if that probably would have gotten you a scalp, but that's it. And then we get this first convincing break. Is that the first break? Got a break right here, but it's not convincing. This is a convincing break, and there's nothing, no way to get in on that. So that leads to it. We get an overshoot after that, and that overshoot leads to just some sideways action, and you get a what looks like a double or a triple test right here. I like that. I like that quite a bit, even though we just had the overshoot. I like it, but I didn't like that it set up below the EMA. So the uptrend was strong. And now I'm seeing this is the midline. I had my midline drawn like down here before. So going long into that midline, and the signal bar closes below the EMA, it's a little aggressive. Come up, test the midline again. Counter trend breakout, higher low. This is the type of range entry you want, this higher low. And as long as you got room to that midline, I think you're good. And that's exactly where sellers came back in. And we test the midline again, come down here, form this spike in channel. I don't like that second entry. However, it is a first failed second entry long. So you might take that because it's both a second entry short and a failed second entry long. But it's away from the EMA, so I'm just not too crazy about it. But when we come down here and you get a first entry, second entry short, very bearish signal bar, I like that. And then we reverse. We didn't quite make a new low, but you might argue that this was a trend channel. You get an overshoot, and then the break doesn't lead to a new low, but I drew it like this. So then we're trending back up, and nothing here. First entry, failed second entry, short right here. And if you could also look at it like failed break lower out of a range in an uptrend. It's very close to this trend line. I like that trade. It closes above the EMA. Then we come up here and we form this price level. We test it once, test it a second time. The signal bar here isn't great, but with it being a double test and a second entry long, you might risk that. Unfortunately, on this bar, it looks like it would take out any runners you have, because that would have been a really good move with this spike and channel up. So yeah, we formed this spike and channel. This is super congestive. Now we're going higher, though. We get a break. And this is, again, I think this is the same thing, right? Yeah, first entry, second entry. That's also like a triple test. Room back to the EMA. However, once this bar is just an inside bar, I think I would probably want to skip that. Oh, and then I didn't even, did I see this? Well, you get a first entry, second entry, that fails. I'm not going for the failure at this point. Not quite, not just yet. But then we get like testing that same price level. You might consider that. So ring back to the EMA. Oh, there's just barely enough room, so that's really aggressive, but you might take that. I kind of like this one, to be honest. It's like a higher low. I'm not going to mark it because I don't want to mark a failure in a range, but it kind of looks like a higher low. And then we're just, I don't see anything in here sideways. This tests that price level again with a good signal bar this time and plenty of room back to the EMA. And that's all I saw. So that's the way I viewed it today. I hope everyone had a great day. I'll be back tomorrow.